Welcome everyone to a review of what happened in Game Week 8 and a preview of what's coming up in Game Week 9. Any ideas on what we do next? And my gamble didn't pay off when it came to Jared Bowen, but we'll talk about that later on. As you can see with how the team went for myself, it actually wasn't too bad. Gabriel in the team, Saka in the team, Arsenal players are definitely the ones to definitely have. Gusto getting suspended, getting a red card. What is it with Chelsea and red cards these days? I have no idea, but we can obviously probably start to discuss that. But basically, apart from Arsenal players and my Brentford goalkeeper, so my cover did actually work. Wasn't great. Wasn't great. That's how it is. As a little bit of further details on how things went. Nottingham Forest, as kind of expected, lost 3-0 to Chelsea. Brighton won against Newcastle. That was really good and actually is showing Brighton to be one of those, I am here teams, like proving themselves. Burnley against Leeds. I had a feeling that Burnley might do okay. So, really good on that. Crystal Palace Bournemouth was an incredible match, and Mateta getting a hat trick. I think it was him and Reece James from Chelsea that were basically the top scorers in the Fantasy Premier League. Brilliant stuff. Bournemouth did well as well. It was a great, entertaining watch. Manchester City versus Everton. City win quite comfortably in the end, and Haaland got 2. Sunderland beating Wolves. Again, Wolves showing themselves out to be a little bit of a concerning team to look out for. Fulham losing to Arsenal very narrowly, actually, not too bad from Fulham there in putting up a defence, and Arsenal just getting things done. Spurs losing to Aston Villa, which maybe we'll talk a bit about Spurs and Aston Villa later on when it comes to the matches. Liverpool, Man United, we got so much to jump into on that, and West Ham versus Brentford winning. So, I suppose the big question is, where do we go from here? Where do we go in terms of Game Week 9? Well, as we do every week, anytime European matches are going on, we consider them midweek matches as part of our thinking for what to do next. And we have exactly that. So I wanted to jump into that straight away. We had the Champions League that was on Tuesday, Wednesday. We had the Europa League and the Europa Conference League on the Thursday. And here was basically the results. Now, the big ones to look out for, as you can see, Arsenal winning 4-0 against Atletico Madrid. That is big. Atletico Madrid, if you don't know, that they are very much a defensive style team. Diego Simeone, who's the manager there, it's very much a case of fighting against the big guys, and so make sure that they hold on. So the fact that Arsenal managed to get 4 against Atletico, that was huge, really, really huge, and is showing that Arsenal are continuing to be this professional team. Really impressive to watch. Really good to watch, actually. Newcastle winning against Benfica. Benfica was once like one of those teams that you very much kept an eye out for. They were brilliant. I mean, in the 60s and 70s, they were basically the best team in the world. They had players like Eusebio, who was one of the best players in the World Cups and things like that. And they used to win these competitions like nothing else. It's not so much the same anymore, but Jose Mourinho will probably get them better in the future. So they're not great now, but they probably will be in a few weeks' time. But Newcastle getting a comfortable win against Benfica, that was really good. Good performance from them. And also Manchester City beating Villarreal, the Yellow Submarine. Again, just getting the job done. I think this probably shows more in terms of English teams how high performing and high. I mean, they've got a lot of money in the game, so it makes sense when it comes to how they did against others. So moving on to Wednesday, we had, I think it was 2 of the 3 teams that played on the Wednesday. Eintracht Frankfurt against Liverpool. Liverpool winning 5-1 away. Now, yes, it's Eintracht Frankfurt, who aren't the same team that they were over the past couple of years, particularly the fact that they lost one of their strikers to Liverpool in Ekitike, but a good win nonetheless. Monaco versus Tottenham. Tottenham getting a draw against Monaco. Now, this isn't the Monaco of a few years ago where we had basically like Colombians that finished third in the World Cup, and we're playing for Monaco in Falcao and James Rodriguez. They're not exactly the same team, so a little bit concerning that Tottenham Hotspur couldn't breach the defence. But that said, they did lose over the weekend, so getting a draw perhaps is a good result for them. And Chelsea thrashing Ajax 5-1 as well. Really good performance. And again, Ajax isn't like Benfica, one of those teams. They used to be incredible. They used to be elite. The shine isn't the same anymore, but it's still a good result for Chelsea and a good confidence booster and morale booster for them. Moving on to yesterday's games, we had the Europa League and the Conference League, and some surprising results, to be quite honest. Aston Villa losing 2-1 to Go Ahead Eagles. The Go Ahead Eagles is from the Dutch League, the League in the Netherlands. Can't remember exactly where they're from, but yeah, them beating Aston Villa is a surprise. Aston Villa have been on a decent run, but this was like a bit of a blip to that run, and maybe something that might have a bearing on this weekend's decisions and fixtures. But yeah, a little bit of a surprise, that one. On the other side, though, Nottingham Forest did beat Porto. Porto is similar to Benfica in that regard, but still, Nottingham Forest getting a win. I think, was this Sean Dyche's first game in charge? I think it was. So it was professional. Almost starting to see a little bit of the glimmer of like the old Nuno team back. So maybe in Sean Dyche being in Nottingham Forest, maybe we can start having a look at Nottingham Forest players in the future. Not yet, though, I don't think, but it's certainly positive stuff. In the Conference League, many games to focus on, but again, we're focusing on the English leagues. And Crystal Palace lost at home to AEK Larnaca. Now, Larnaca is a club in Cyprus. That was a surprise. Bit of a blip. Crystal Palace have been on a good run, although then again, they did draw at home to Bournemouth, the 3-3 match, and maybe the defences are starting to get breached a little bit. Something to be concerned about if you've got Crystal Palace players. But I wouldn't say full-on panic stations. Teams lose matches every now and again. It is what it is. And if we were actually to focus on the other matches in here, you would actually see that, surprising and shocking wins and losses isn't exactly, the worst thing in the world, right? I mean, even literally just looking at this page, Lincoln Red Imps, a team from Gibraltar, beat Lech Poznan from Poland. Lech Poznan is a brilliant team from Poland, so to see them lose to a Gibraltar team would be a surprise as well. So yeah, it's slightly concerning, but not full-on panic stations. So, with that in mind, let's start looking ahead to next week. And here we are. Now, I definitely do need to make some changes, but here we are. So, Leeds versus West Ham. This is a now or never for both teams. It's like a must-win game for both of them. For West Ham, it's a must-win in terms of if they want to get their season underway and start on the run, because they've got some promising fixtures coming up ahead. This is the time for them to do it. And Leeds started off well, but a little bit concerning where they are at the moment. And maybe this is the start of the end of Leeds in the Premier League. I don't know, but certainly that is the case. Chelsea versus Sunderland will be one of the matches. We've got two matches that we're going to be reacting to tomorrow at 3 p.m. in Chelsea versus Sunderland, Newcastle, Fulham. So we'll probably reflect on a few of the Championship matches as well. But Chelsea versus Sunderland, this is going to be the first real test for Sunderland. I don't think they're going to do it, to be quite honest. And I think this is now, we've had a good run with Sunderland players. This is probably now the time to start maybe taking them out. I'd probably go from defence to attack. So if you've got any Sunderland defenders, make them your focus. Because Sunderland attackers could still be good, but then again, we'll have a look at our team in a little bit of time. But yeah, I think there's going to be a Chelsea win, potentially even a clean sheet. Newcastle versus Fulham is next. Newcastle struggling. Fulham holding up a thing. Good defence. But it is at Newcastle. And the 3-0 that they got against Benfica probably has built up their confidence here. I think we're looking at a narrow win for Newcastle. And maybe start looking, have defenders and goalkeepers from Newcastle here. Voltemada, again, is the big pick for goals there. In terms of Fulham, you got players like Raul Jimenez and, Wilson, players like that could snatch a goal. So could be interesting. Manchester United versus Brighton is a 5:30 game. And look, Manchester United are starting to do okay. Back-to-back wins for the first time in about a year. Unbeaten Liverpool. Yes, it was a negative for Liverpool, but let's focus on Man United. It was a positive for them. But this is Brighton. If anyone knows about Brighton, Brighton is one of those where they've been Man United's bogey team. So it's a case of this is the time for Man United now to do it. As for Brighton, yeah, you've got players like Danny Welbeck that could do well against their former teams and everything like that. But yeah, really interesting. I want to actually address this while we're halfway through this. I am loving this season because it is really hard to predict about 90% of these matches. There is such a tight competition between like 12 to 15 teams that any one of these could be getting wins and draws. It's not what we had last season and the season before, where 3 or 4 teams you just knew they were going to lose. It's not the same anymore. Man United Brighton is one of those classic ones where Brighton could snatch a win here, but yeah, for Man United this is their chance. This is their chance. Liverpool versus Brentford next. Liverpool have ended their 4-game losing streak, which is good. I'm happy for them because I'm a Liverpool fan myself. But there's clearly some sort of like playstyle challenge that's going on here, and I wanted to sort of like give my thoughts here is the fact that the reason why we're seeing this, and ultimately it's down to the fact that last season, in fact, for the past 5 years, 6 years, for as long as Salah's probably been here, the focus has been on the wingers to score goals, right? Whether you're looking at Salah and Mane with Firmino in the middle, whether you're looking at, even the times when Darwin Núñez was around, it was still Salah and Diaz or Salah and Gakpo that were, the focal points that were getting the goals. It was the person that was in the striker position for Liverpool. Look at last season with Luis Diaz. They were kind of like the sacrificial lamb. They were the ones giving away the attacking position so that Salah and Gakpo could get their goals. Do you really imagine Isak or Ekitike to be doing a similar sort of thing? I don't think so. And I think we're looking at a situation now where Salah, it's required on him to be a creator, and I don't know if he can be that much of a creator, if that makes sense. And almost feels like Frimpong, I know he's injured, and that makes it a little bit more challenging, is a better fit as a creator. But it's almost that thing of, Salah needs to adjust his playing style, and I'm not sure if he can. Brentford will be a good test for them as well. They've literally got a goalkeeper in Kelleher for Brentford who probably wants to prove himself to Liverpool. So this is going to be a very tight game. This is one that if you have been that thing of taking Liverpool players out, don't rush to put them back in just yet, because I think Brentford is that test for them to see how well they do. It's going to be basically, I feel like, a barrage against a brick wall here, and how that's going to work. So it could be one of those where you almost sort of cover for yourself. We'll look into the players a little bit more later. Arsenal Crystal Palace. Looks like it's going to be a win for Arsenal, to be quite honest. Crystal Palace are struggling. Maybe they've got something to prove, but yeah, I think it's going to be a narrow win for Arsenal again. Aston Villa versus Manchester City. Before the Thursday games, I would have said that Aston Villa would put up a fight against them. I don't think so anymore. I think Man City should be okay there and get a win. So focus on maybe attackers there. Bournemouth versus Nottingham Forest. Bournemouth are still doing okay. Nottingham Forest are doing okay. You're going to be hearing this a lot from me over the next few weeks. It's that thing of teams to watch. Nottingham Forest is one of those teams to watch now that Sean Dyche is in charge. This will be a more defensive performance. It'll be narrow wins and everything like that. So I think you can just about be okay with sort of having Bournemouth defenders, because I don't think they'll concede more than one goal. Watch that prediction flop. But Nottingham Forest could start looking a little bit brighter again. And again, have a look at Nottingham Forest's next couple of results, see how they do. This could be the time to bring in Nottingham Forest players. Wolves versus Burnley. Wolves have been absolutely atrocious. Again, this is one of those must win for Wolves. And Burnley, I see them as favourites. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I see Burnley as favourites against Wolves. So, yeah, players like Ugochukwu and things like that, they could be the ones to be keeping an eye out for Burnley. And Everton versus Spurs, yes, they lost against Manchester City, but now they've got Jack Grealish back. It'll just be about finishing chances, I think, for Everton. I see a draw in this, if I'm being honest, between Everton and Spurs. But again, really, really exciting stuff. So, we're going to take a look at our players. We're going to see if there's anything that we can do. And this is my first time looking at it. So, let's see what we've got. So, the big standout is that Gusto will not be playing. So, at the moment, I think we can do 3-4-3. So, yeah, we can have a midfielder in. So, let's just get that switched over, and then we can start having a look at it properly. So, yeah, we got Gusto's out of the equation, no doubt about it. So we got Xavi and Ronaldo, and these are the players that we've got. Now we've got quite a bit of money. I think we'll have a look at it in detail later. So yeah, we've got goalkeepers are Kelleher and Sells. For Bournemouth, for Nottingham Forest, and for Brentford. Maybe could start looking at it. The only reason why I won't put Sells in is because Bournemouth do have Semenyo, and they do have the opportunity to score, so that could be something to be worried about. Pedro Porro and Kudus against Everton. I think, look, Kudus has been Tottenham's best player, so fantastic stuff like that. We've got the Arsenal players, they'll be definitely staying in. Sunderland against Chelsea, so we probably need to start looking at that. I think, looking at how this is at the moment, we will be taking a Sunderland player out because it feels a bit too risky having two Sunderland players against Chelsea. Maybe one we can get away with, but yeah, two players in the team feels a bit risky. So that's where we're going to put our focus on. So, in terms of defence and things like that, so Burnley could be one to look out for. What do we say in terms of defenders? So Burnley, for certain to look out to have maybe. Newcastle was the other one, and I think that's pretty much it of the defenders to keep an eye out for. So we're going to have a look at the further fixtures and see if we can get an idea of what we are going to do. So let's take out Reinaldo, I think. Yeah, we'll take out Reinaldo. He's been the least consistent of the three of them. So Newcastle, how are we doing for Newcastle's next few matches? They've got Fulham, they've got West Ham, they've got Brentford, they've got Man City, they've got Everton. Okay. And who was the other one? Was it Burnley? I feel like Burnley's going to be a bit more risky, but we'll see. Let's have a look. Do we have a Burnley player in here? I don't know if we do. Oh my goodness me, I'm stupid. Esteve. Okay, Wolves, Arsenal, West Ham, Chelsea. So based on the fact that it's basically Arsenal versus and Chelsea, I think it'll be Newcastle players we'll probably bring in. So where are we looking at? So Trippier. I don't know if he's playing or not. I don't know if did we have an injury or something? Interesting one on Trippier. I mean, he only got 1 point in the loss against Brighton. How are Brentford looking? Crystal Palace, Newcastle, Brighton. So potentially Man City. Man City got a really difficult run of fixtures, so that's definitely to stay away from. Villa again, difficult fixtures, so stay away from those. What are Crystal Palace looking like in terms of players afterwards? Okay, I guess. Maybe you could take a risk on Munoz, but I think not yet. So, in fact, you know what? I think we're gonna take out. I think, given the fact that I'm not confident on defenders, and we're gonna have 3 in there, I think we'll probably keep them out. So maybe we'll look at midfielders then and see who can replace Xhaka. And we've got plenty of money, so we can spend on any of them. Let's have a look. I mean, Semenyo for Bournemouth. Bournemouth looking for their fixtures again. Well, Man City, yes. Villa, I'm not so sure about. Potentially Semenyo. Potentially. Caicedo, I've touted for a little while as well. And I think Caicedo has been absolutely brilliant. Jaden Anthony's been brilliant as well. But yeah, I think it is against Sunderland. So it would be a bit of a cover. Yeah, I think we're going to bring in Caicedo. So let's do that and get them through. So what we're going to do is we're going to swap out Caicedo for Gusto. So we've got the 3-4-3 formation. Question marks over Wirtz, whether he'll play, whether he'll do well. But Xavi Simons, Wirtz and Xavi Simons are ones where both of them have the potential to do absolutely incredible stuff. But yeah, perhaps not yet. But this, I think, is going to be where we are in terms of that. In terms of captains and vice captains, I'm probably going to give the captaincy to. Caicedo. I think. No, with Xhaka in play, I think Caicedo probably isn't the pick. But we're going to risk it with João Pedro, I think. Kudus for vice captain, that's nice and easy. But this is where we are. This is what the team we're going to have. So we're going to have Kelleher for Brentford against Liverpool. We're going to have Truffert for Bournemouth playing against Nottingham Forest. For Arsenal, we'll have Gabriel and Saka playing against Crystal Palace. We'll have Pedro Porro and Kudus against Everton. Caicedo and João Pedro against Sunderland. Isidore against Chelsea. Vietz against Brentford. Jared Bowen against Leeds. This, by the way, Jared Bowen against Leeds thing. Look, the gamble did not work last weekend, right? But the one thing I've learned from Fantasy Premier League is if you do make a gamble, stick with the gamble for a little while. It's no use taking it out because otherwise there's no benefit. Stick with it for about 2 to 3 weeks before you can say for definite it's not working. This I'm fairly comfortable with. We will obviously react to the 2 matches at 3 p.m. Tomorrow. And yeah, please let me know what your thoughts are, who your big shouts are, and until next time, guys, take care.